Korean Folktales, Imps, Ghosts, and Fairies. Public domain, first published in 1913. Today we'll take a look at two short stories. The Old Man Who Became a Fish and the Geomancer. The Old Man Who Became a Fish. Some years ago, a noted official became the magistrate of Kosong County. On a certain day, a guest called on him to pay his respects, and when noon came, the magistrate had a table of food prepared for him, on which was a dish of scéalta soup. When the guest saw the soup, he twisted his features and refused it, saying, "Today I am fasting from meat, and so beg to be excused." His face grew pale, and tears flowed from his eyes. The magistrate thought this behavior strange, and asked him 2 or 3 times the meaning of it. When he could no longer withhold a reply, he went into all the particulars and told him the story. "Your humble servant," he said, "has in this life met with much unheard of and unhappy experiences, which he has never told to a living soul. But now that your excellency asks it of me, I cannot refrain from telling. Your servant's father was a very old man, nearly 100, when one day he was taken down with a high fever, in which his body was like a fiery furnace. Seeing the danger he was in, his children gathered about, weeping, thinking that the time of his departure had surely come. But he lived, and a few days later said to us, 'I am burdened with so great a heat in this sickness that I am not able to endure it longer. I would like to go out to the bank of the river that runs before the house and see the water flowing by and be refreshed by it. Do not disobey me now, but carry me out at once to the water's edge.' We remonstrated with him and begged him not to do so, but he grew very angry and said, 'If you do not do as I command, you will be the death of me.' And so, seeing that there was no help for it, we bore him out and placed him on the bank of the river. He, seeing the water, was greatly delighted and said, 'The clear flowing water cures my sickness.' A moment later he said further, 'I'd like to be quite alone and rid of you all for a little. Go away into the wood and wait till I tell you to come.' We again remonstrated about this, but he grew furiously angry, so that we were helpless. We feared that if we insisted, his sickness would grow worse, and so we were compelled to yield. We went a short distance away and then turned to look, when suddenly the old father was gone from the place where he had been seated. We hurried back to see what had happened. My father had taken off his clothes and plunged into the water, which was muddied. His body was already half metamorphosed into a skate. We saw its transformation in terror and did not dare to go near him, when all at once it became changed into a great flatfish that swam and plunged and disported itself in the water with intense delight. He looked back at us as though he could hardly bear to go, but a moment later he was off, entered the deep sea, and did not again appear. On the edge of the stream, where he had changed his form, we found his fingernails and a tooth. These we buried, and today as a family, we all abstain from skatefish. And when we see the neighbors frying or eating it, we are overcome with disgust and horror. The Geomancer. There was a geomancer once, Yi who, in seeking out a special mountain vein, started with the Dragon Ridge in North Hamgyong province and traced it as far as Pine Mountain in Yangju County, where it stopped in a beautifully rounded end, forming a perfect site for a burial. After wandering all day in the hills, Yi's hungry spirit cried out for food. He saw beneath the hill a small house, to which he went, and, rapping at the door, asked for something to eat. A mourner, recently bereaved, came out in a respectful and kindly way, and gave him a dish of white gruel. Yi, after he had eaten, asked what time the friend had become a mourner, and if he had already passed the funeral. The owner answered, "I am just now entering upon full mourning, but we have not yet arranged for the funeral." He spoke in a sad and disheartened way. Yi felt sorry for him and asked the reason. "I wonder if it's because you are poor that you have not made the necessary arrangements. Or perhaps you have not found a suitable site. I'm an expert in reading the hills, and I'll tell you of a site. Would you care to see it?" The mourner thanked him most gratefully and said, "I'll be delighted to know of it. I'll be delighted to know of it." Yi then showed him the end of the great vein that he had just discovered. Also, the spot for the grave and how to place its compass points. "After possessing this site," said he, "you will be greatly enriched. But in 10 years, you will have cause to arrange for another site. When that comes to pass, please call me, won't you? In calling for me, just ask for Yi Sopang, who lives in West School Ward, Seoul." The mourner did as directed, and as the geomancer had foretold, all his affairs prospered. He built a large tiled house and ornamented the grave with great stones, as a prosperous and high-minded country gentleman should do. After 10 years, a guest called one day and, saluting him, asked, "Is that grave yonder beyond the stream yours?" The master answered, "It is mine." Then the stranger said, "That is a famous site, but 10 years have passed since you have come into possession of it, and the luck is gone. Why do you not make a change? If you wait too long, you will rue it, and may meet with great disaster." The owner, hearing this, thought of Yi the geomancer, and what he had said years before. Remembering that, he asked the stranger to remain as his guest while he went next day to Seoul to look up Yi in West School Ward. He found him and told him why he had come. Yi said, "I already know of this." So the two journeyed together to the inquirer's home. When there, they went with the guest up the hill. Yi asked of the guest, "Why did you tell the master to change the site?" The guest replied, "This hill is a kneeling pheasant formation. If the pheasant kneels too long, it cannot endure it, so that within a limited time it must fly. 10 years is the time. That's why I spoke." Yi laughed and said, "Your idea is only a partial view. You have thought of only one thing. There are other conditions that enter." Then he showed the peak to the rear and said, "Yonder is Dog Hill, and then one below, which," said he, "is Falcon Hill, and then the stream in front, which," said he, "is Cat River. This is the whole group, the dog behind, the falcon just above, and the cat in front. How then can the pheasant fly? It dares not." The guest replied, "Teacher, surely your eyes are enlightened and see further than those of ordinary men." From that day forth, the Yis of Pine Hill became a great and noted family.